we're recording with John Paul Gulbis, and I forgot John Paul Gulbis can sing. Dude, you wouldn't be the first person though. Zvonimir, a gentleman by the name of Zvonimir came on here and sang. So you wouldn't be, don't think you're breaking new ground. This has been done before.
No. It's not,
what type of music did you what did you sing? It was rock.
Yeah. Rock.
Come right into the mic, into the mic.
Rock music, I guess you could call it. Yeah.
What do you mean, I guess you could call it?
Well, I mean, there's so many variations of rock music, right? So, all right, I'm eating it now. All right, here we go.
Yeah, you basically eat these mics. Got it. We were just talking about life and traffic and purpose, and I didn't know the acronym for MAID. Medical assisted. What is it?
Medical assistance in dying.
Medical assistance in dying, and that's legal now in Canada, from what we think.
It's been for a while, apparently. I knew very little about it whatsoever, and then this person in my life decided to was suffering from cancer, and it was going. He was it was getting worse, quite a bit worse, and just watching, or not watching, but having this person do it, and it just, and seeing, getting to visit with him, and then knowing that by the end of that week he was gonna, he had his date set, and it was just it was such a different perspective on, you go through your life and you have all of these things that you want to do, and the way you shape your life and design your life, but then to get to the end of it and go, and then
Jeez.
Now I get the opportunity to be like, no, I'm going to do it this way. And I never really thought about it like that, but it really, I don't know, it kind of just changed my perspective on the end,
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a good way, so I don't know if this is available in every country, but it certainly made me think, and we talked about this briefly, like there's some controversy over it, but in this particular situation, I thought, man, this is great. This is great.
His terms.
Exactly. We were having drinks on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
My family visited him, and then,
man, I'm getting sad and emotional hearing you talk about it again, but like we just said before, it's kind of, I like it.
It really impacted me I think in more of a way, than had I just got a call one day that, he had succumbed to the disease, and the way that he had done it, it was inspiring, for lack of a better word.
So how was his attitude at the end there? What he was just saying, this is my choice, I'm happy. Like, was he upbeat?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Making jokes and talking about things. And wow. I think it was harder for us.
Almost like, what a ride.
What a ride. Exactly. And he definitely lived a full, amazing life. Like, he really did. And
why do you think he did? Why do you say that? Because he had people around him that he loved, like
his life.
Yeah, I guess I've just been thinking more and more of what makes a full life.
I think he was one of his granddaughters had made a post, and and it's true, he was very principled and very disciplined, and seeing that. The way that he operated in life, and the way he went through life, and was a successful, engineer, and worked for different companies and whatnot. But just, having a family, and, it just seemed that it was the perfect sort of nothing's perfect, of course, but the way he went,
he checked off a lot of boxes.
He really did. And all of his kids turned out very, very well. And, and just the whole thing just seemed coming from Germany at 8 years old or whatever it was. And going through all of that, and having such a full life of travel, and, and then just being able to be yep. Okay. So this is what's going to happen. And, this is how I'm going to do it, And so
he got sick, he got cancer. Mm-hmm. I think you have to get a couple doctors to sign off on this or something.
I didn't get into the details on that.
And I don't know either, but so he decided to do this, gets the proper approval in Canada to do it, and then he does it.
Yeah. And then like, again, there's this picture on his last days in his suit. He's got a martini and he's smiling and he's just like, let's do this, you know? And I was just like, I don't know. It just hit me in a way that was really like, okay, there's a way to do this that I had never really, you think, okay, one day it's going to happen, but you don't think, but like there's always that fear of like at the end of it, no one wants to suffer at the end, right? Yeah. And to have that ability to say, okay, well, before it gets too bad, you have that ability to say, no, I'm going to draw the line here, so it doesn't, you know.
Wow,
anyway,
thinking about it that way is just so different. Like, I wonder what JP Gulbis, like what you would say at the end of your life. Let's say you live like healthy to the year. Let's pick a year like 90 years old or 95, like healthy right till the end, right? I wonder what you'll look back on life and say, or what regret you might have. Like, you're now spending some time, you bought a property out in Calgary, which is, I know, your thing.
Yep.
So you're kind of checking that box off.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what you'll look back on. Have you given that any thought?
I have. Yeah. And as time goes on, I think about that more.
Do you?
For sure.
How old are you now?
I'm 44 today.
You're an old guy.
I know.
I'm joking. 44, dude. But okay, so you're thinking about that more.
I am. Just because like the first 44 years, well, everyone knows this, as you get older, time just doubles as far as like the speed of it. So you're thinking, okay, well, it took this long to get here, but I feel like it's going to take half as long to do the next, you know, the back 9. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be way faster.
It feels like the calendar, you know, in those cartoons when you see the calendar, the paper calendar just flipping over, like those sheets of paper are just flipping over.
The one slide in the Fast Start class that shows the weeks of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I saw that for the first time, I thought, I printed it off right away and I keep it on my desk because be like,
there's not that many weeks in your life when you look at printed off and if you scratch them off as they go by.
It's I don't want to say terrifying, but it's certainly grounding, you know? Yeah.
It's slightly terrifying too, man. Slightly terrifying.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, luckily I don't have too many regrets so far. And I'd like to keep it that way. So
the biggest thing, it seems to me, that I'm enjoying is experiences with the family.
Yeah.
So like, I really need to keep the people I love around me and doing things. And those seem to be the most satisfying things of my life.
Correct.
So I just want to keep making sure that those things happen. It's one of the things Nick and I talk about, that when we bought that property in Croatia, it cost us 4 Hamilton Mountain rental properties at the time, which is huge. Because if you think those properties we could have bought for like $205,000 or $210,000.
Yep.
I still remember when you and I chatted, like, shit, they're $234,990. The gig's over. No one's. Do you remember chatting? I'm like, nobody's going to buy these properties anymore. Anyway, cost us 4 of those, and those properties are all now worth, I guess, between $600,000 and $850,000 or whatever. So we left a lot of money on the table there by not buying those 4 properties. But those experiences that both of our families have, like, my daughter's been going there since she was 4. Every summer, except one COVID summer we missed. And my son now has been to Europe, you know, a dozen or more times. And I feel like the life perspective they have. We went to the village multiple times that my aunt, the last living relative that we had there, my grandparents were there. My aunt lived in a village with no running water, a well, no washroom. She had to use the neighbor's washroom. The joke from some of my friends who visited there is that the house has doesn't have 4 walls because it's built into the side of a rock. And it just, the front of the house is like exposed to the elements, and you walk into the center of the house, and then there's like doors to the kitchen or bedroom. But the center of the house is like exposed to the outside. Like, to see this, JP, I wish I could take you to this.
Sounds awesome.
It is really awesome. And animals used to live underneath this house. And the reason they did it was they provided heat. Because the heat of the body warmth of the animals in the winter months would be useful.
Oh, you mean like farm animals?
Farm animals, like cows and horses and chickens and stuff, but they have them under the house. And when I asked, my family there about, like, why are some of the animals directly under the house? Why was the house built like this? It was because of the body heat of the animals helped heat the humans above them. Is that not ridiculous?
It's true. And with the horses, I mean, everyone probably knows that I'm involved in horses, but it's the same in the stables, where some stables are not heated. Some are, but it's just when you have that much body mass when they're all indoors, the radiant heat that comes off their bodies.
Okay, I didn't know this.
Yeah, I mean, they're blanketed too, in at least ours are in the winter, but still, there's a lot of heat that comes off of them.
Yeah. I didn't quite get that. I remember one night I was there and I woke up in the middle of the night. My grandparents were still alive. My aunt wakes me up, and a cow that was under the bedroom that I was sleeping in was giving birth.
Oh, wow.
And about 6 or 7 people gather from the village, and I saw this calf, pop out. I was like, this is just wild. Like, this is completely wild, with my aunt like screaming at the cow, and I think they all looked at me. I named this cow when it was born.
Nice.
They're like, what's the name of it? It's just like these weird life experiences. But for my kids to go there and see that, these are the things that, to me, just if I'm reflecting now at the age of 50, these are the things that are most important. Those kind of like family,
Absolutely.
loved ones together moments. With the horses, I remember my grandfather riding like through a rainstorm back from some vineyards we had a white horse.
Yeah.
And the horse, he was, I guess, in his 90s at this point. And the horse, he didn't look to me even like he was in the mental state that evening to get home. And the horse just trotted him home because it knew like where to go. When you're dealing with horses over the years, I mean, what kind of connections have you made with some of these horses? I guess they just become like part of the family.
Yeah, they do. I mean,
You try to draw a line?
I try to, only because you can't keep them all. They're very expensive, and so it's not quite the same as a dog. Mm-hmm. At one point, it would be great to be at a point in my life where I could keep horses forever, have them retire, and and then they would. But so far, I've had to look at it like the idea of the horse and being involved with the horse is more important than any individual horse. And the reason that I have to look at it like that is because they are so expensive, and you have to look at it. There's no business case for it, really, at least right now in my life, there hasn't been. So
one of our business mentors used to say that the horse, he had a stable, he had a bunch of horses, and he did the horse riding when you ride on 2 wheels, and he sat in a little
the sulkies,
and he in Ohio, and he said that his horses just ate money.
They do. They do.
But he loved them.
Yeah.
So he did.
Yeah. So what they give you is that when you're with them, it's a different feeling. So it's almost like a bit of a meditation when things go well, and then when things are not going well, then it's very stressful because they are so expensive, and the vet bills. And
are you training horses right now?
I've kind of pulled back since last year. I haven't really done a whole lot with them since.
Can you tell anyone who doesn't know what kind of training you do?
It would be like show jumping horses. Yeah. So, my particular horse that I was working with, I've let our trainer kind of take over, and now I'm in the process of selling him because he's not going to be a long-term horse for me. And while he's worth something, this is the issue: is while he's worth something, I want to sell him so I can have that capital to go buy something else that is going to be a better fit for me for the future. So
it'd be tough to separate from a horse that you've been with for a while.
It's easier for me than it is for Amy. She gets very attached, and that's fine. But I have to look at it a little bit more logically,
like a business.
A little bit more like again.
Is the market for these horses in Ontario very liquid? Or does it take a while to sell a horse?
There's a shortage of good horses for sure. And that goes across the board in pretty much any discipline for whatever reason. But
there's a shortage of horses too. There's a shortage of housing. There's a shortage of everything.
You know what? In Canada, there's
a shortage of everything.
Yeah.
We don't have enough of anything.
I know. But it's kind of always been that way in Canada. It just... this particular horse is just like, nope, okay, it's not going to work out longer term for me. So let's sell him now while he's worth something. Otherwise, anything can happen. He can go outside to the paddock tomorrow and hurt himself where he becomes,
or something.
Yeah, or even not that, just have some sort of tendon injury where it's like, now he's just a lawn ornament, and he's got to go retire in a field somewhere.
Lawn ornament.
So, it's just kind of like. So anyway, and you're constantly dealing with that stuff. It's like, oh my God, like you want them bubble wrapped and making sure that everything is looked after, because again, like you put so much money and effort into them.
What's the price range of these horses? Just the wide range.
Well, it's a wide range, but to get something half decent in Canada, to just like, for example, my horse, I'm, hoping to get 60. Well, I had him for 70, but I think 50 to 60 is what I'm going to try to sell him for.
50 to 60,000?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And that would be like probably about as, for anything half decent, that's about as cheap as you're going to get for my discipline. So, and it goes up from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I had no idea. I thought you were going to say 16 to 20.
No. That would be for a lower tier kind of horse,
I got to tell Nick to lease his daughter a horse. What's he waiting for? He was telling me the price. It was way less than what you're talking about.
But for the stage that she's at, that would be a reasonable amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we went to Nick's daughter's latest horse show, I guess they had this little pony thing that was like maybe 3 feet tall or 2.5.
Yeah.
This tiny,
miniature. Yeah.
They just let it roam around the property. Like it's just free, this thing. And we just stumbled upon it, it was a lawn ornament. We all started taking pictures next to this thing, but it was like a moving lawn ornament. It was the best thing ever.
Oh, they're great.
It was a stocky little thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like short, but stocky.
Yeah.
It looks strong.
Yeah.
I think I wanted to tie it up to this car and see if it'll pull our car. I'm like, this thing's stronger than we think.
Well, you could put, 3 toddlers can get on them. And
totally.
I
remember growing up loading donkeys with like bags of potatoes, like the biggest, heaviest bags of potatoes you've ever seen. Like, it took 2 adults to strap one bag to one side of this donkey, and the donkey just no problem. I remember thinking, how freaking strong.
Super tough, super tough animals. Yeah.
But they're kind of like fat. Have you ever dealt with donkeys? The ones we used to have, like their stomachs go like way up.
Yeah.
So you look at these things, you're like, these things kind of suck, but they're the best.
Yeah. They're not the as majestic as a horse looks, but really but they're beasts of burden. That's what they are. They're
I love them.
Yeah. Oh, they're great.
Stubborn as shit. Oh yeah. Man.
Yeah.
They're just gonna if they're not gonna walk, you're not gonna make them walk.
No.
But when they're useful, man, holy smokes! Yeah. I was in shock. Yeah. 2 donkeys could carry shitloads of stuff to a field because of the way the village was and the farm. Some of the fields that you would have to harvest were quite a walk. I don't know, maybe not that far, but between 5 and 10K, you're walking. So you needed donkeys. They didn't have tractors. So you needed donkeys to load up stuff to bring there and then bring back. JP, I'm getting flashbacks. I remember my aunt would tie a hoe to the back of a bull and she would plow the field. Yeah. Like, how poor was our family? We didn't have a tractor. This is what my aunt did for sustenance.
That's great.
Isn't it wild?
Yeah.
But I'm looking back, and then we would have I think it was a little horse bag that you'd put horse feed in, but that was our lunch bag.
Okay.
And you'd go out there for the whole day.
Yeah.
And then you'd eat under the shade and have a little bit, and they'd give me a little bit of wine, even though I was young. Like, take this, you need some wine. But dealing with the animals the whole time as a kid was amazing. So just for you to be able to train horses and have that in your life, I think... there is probably a meditative quality to being able to spend some time with horses.
There is. When you're just kind of grooming them and spending time with them, that part is really just kind of scratching on them and snuggling with them and just having those moments. Those are like those moments where so
that you're not going to regret when you look back on your life. Always the time you spent with horses is going to be time well spent.
Yeah, I mean, there's always then there's the flip side to the cost, and then they're like, these things.
But at the flip side, at the end of your life, I know it's a weird context, but I don't think you're going to care about the cost. I think you're going to care about the time spent.
Agreed. Yeah.
So you kind of have to make it,
but you got to manage.
You're not broke.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You have
to manage it. But I mean, every time, I don't think you're going to look back on life regretting spending any money on the horses, as long as you can still pay your bills.
Exactly. And I think like in there, you can see like kids with special needs and that, and when they get to the horses, like it changes them. Yeah. There's something about that connection that they totally respond to that, and the animals seem to sense it as well, and they're a little more sensitive to it. And so just from an internal sort of like feeling thing, they're fantastic for that. And so you're right. Yeah. Those parts I would never regret. And, I can tell like just over the last year, it's been a crazy year, and we bought this property out west, and not spending the time with the horses, I can sense that it's like, I haven't had those moments. And so I've like, I'm a little more grumpy than I used to be.
It's like a hit of unconditional love in some weird way that you just get from these animals.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't, it's so weird. Like, do horses love, or do...
That's the feeling that you feel. Who cares really if they do or don't?
There's definitely a connection. They can show affection, but it's tough to say, like, do they miss me when I'm not there? I don't know. Like, cause there's someone else to feed them.
Wouldn't it be awesome to know though?
Yeah, it would be. It would be.
Hey, with ChatGPT pretty soon, we're just going to be able to have horses speak. They're going to talk to you. JP, hey JP, you know what? On your way back, can you get me some lunch?
Have you seen these videos of Arnold Schwarzenegger with his donkey?
No.
Oh my God.
He loves donkeys too.
Oh, he's got one in his house, and he's like eating his salad, and the donkey's coming over. Yeah. And he's like, he's like,
come on.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
But is the donkey house trained?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
But where does the donkey sleep?
Probably on like a little bed or something,
But the donkeys are huge.
Some are small. His is only about like this tall.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not going to regret the end of his life. I don't know, or maybe he will regret some things he's had. Yeah, but if you're looking at a property, I know we're going to talk about real estate at some point, but if you're looking at a property, I'm just curious. Let's say I wanted to buy a property in Ontario, has a house on it and some sort of stable for horses. I don't know what a small stable looks like. What is a small stable?
Well, a small stable is probably like 4 to 6 stalls.
Okay, 4 to 6 stalls with a house in Ontario. Do these types of properties usually have another type of structure, like a barn on it too, or no?
Well, that stable would be the barn.
Okay, that stable's the barn. Is there another structure on the house?
It could be. Yeah,
on the property?
There could be like a storage shed for maybe hay.
Yeah, okay.
Or a tractor or something.
Is that a common type of layout that I could find in Ontario?
Oh, yeah.
How much does a property like that cost, and what would the area be where I'm in? Like, let's say I'm going in. Do they exist in Halton Hills right now?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, in Halton Hills, what price am I paying for that kind of property?
That is going to vary drastically.
Give me the ballpark.
Well, probably on the low end, 1.5, and then...
depending on the
it's more so depending on the house.
Yeah, sure.
The barn has very little to do with it.
Okay, it's a livable house at 1.5.
Oh yeah. Huh. Yeah, I mean, it might like
size of the property. How many?
Look, if you just go up Guelph Line, and you find some houses up there or whatever, a house that is just your regular kind of little like acreage
suburban type home that happens to be on a rural property.
I mean, on the low end, you're probably like 1.5. Maybe it needs some like upgrading or whatever, but it's not going to be like super lavish or anything like that, but it'll be a decent home.
Okay, so up Guelph Line there, when you're describing, if I'm spending, let's bump it up some crazy amount to
I can go.
No, I know you can go as based on the house, but let's say you spend $2 million, $2.5 million up there somewhere. How many acres is that? I know it can change based on how far, but how many acres? 4?
Again, it's really more so on the house.
Okay.
The land part.
What's the typical amount of acres these properties are on?
Less than 50.
Okay.
Yeah. To find anything 50 or over.
And the smallest amount of acres they're on?
Usually just like a couple.
All septic stuff, the municipal water on any of these properties?
Usually not. Unless there's this it just happens to be in an area that just like for whatever reason it's close to, it's close enough to suburban sprawl that there just happens to be municipal water there. But typically it's well water or cistern. If there isn't good well water available. Cistern is basically a tank that gets put into your house or on the property close to the house, and then you get water trucked in. So like a company that will haul water in a truck, they'll come and basically just fill your cistern. And then you have like the systems just like a well to purify the water and filter the water.
Got it. So like infrared and all that stuff, filters.
And then septic, of course, as well.
What else to think about then?
Those are the
hydro's coming in, so you don't
hydro's
think about
coming
that.
in.
What about gas?
Gas could be something. There's still a lot of properties out there where there's not gas on the road. And if there is, maybe it hasn't gone to the house, or maybe it's only at the top of the street and the neighbors haven't all collectively decided that they're going to, together bring the gas line down the road. So it can still be propane or oil.
Back of the house. Or oil.
Or oil is still fairly common. Yeah.
Oh, oil's still fairly common on these properties.
Yeah.
If you were buying a property, would you be okay with oil, or would you look for one that has gas coming right into the house?
they're both so common that
it doesn't matter.
I'd be more interested in, like, if you're going to be worried just about that, then maybe that's not why
the house for you.
Yeah. Maybe that's not even the lifestyle that you want. Like, usually people are making the decisions not based on what kind of heat does it have, unless it's like, I don't know, like.
How many acres did you buy out in Calgary?
71 and change.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
With a river, no?
Yeah, it has the border of the property. Luckily, that creek is on our side. But yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, yeah.
And why did you buy out in Calgary and not something in Ontario?
Well, it's 2 hours south of Calgary, so it's not in Calgary or on the outskirts of Calgary.
See, that's an asshole Toronto guy just saying, "Hey, why Calgary?"
So I have to correct you.
Yeah.
No, the why I bought out there was I just loved the area. I've traveled all around, the Western Canada, and we had thought about, trying to get something maybe in BC, but logistically there was a few reasons why we chose Alberta and closer to Calgary. Was just, well, one, there's a major show jumping facility in Calgary that's like one of the best in the world.
Oh,
so luckily that's right there.
Wow.
And then there's a certain sort of type of landscape that I really like.
So like mountains in the background?
Well, there's mountains all over, like BC and on the western side of it. It's just that there's a certain type of landscape there that you can get sort of some of that in BC, but it's not quite the same.
Describe it for me.
Well, it's foothills rolling into the eastern slope of the Rockies. And so
that's very specific.
Yeah. But the way that it is like there's real big patches and swaths of aspen groves that you just don't get that in BC as much. And then that goes down into Montana and then Wyoming and Colorado and New Mexico. And there's just a certain type of landscape. And we have a very small amount of that in Canada and then in Alberta specifically.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's lots of beautiful stuff in BC.
Yeah.
But then in the Okanagan and
so where you bought then it's rare. Like it's hard to buy these properties.
There's not a lot there with this particular landscape. To get this. Yes, I was.
Because you went there purposely to make connections with people to try to.
Well, I traveled there.
Is this where you're taking trips on horses? Where were they? You show me videos where you were on a horse like on the side of a freaking mountain.
All over.
Where was that?
That first one that I showed you.
Everyone else goes to all inclusives, and if you're listening to this, everyone else goes to all inclusives in Mexico and the Caribbean. JP would send us videos like, "Hey guys, just I'm on vacation or whatever," and you just see the side of a mountain with like a horse's leg slipping on some rock that looks like if the horse slips enough, the horse and JP are going down.
Yeah, that was in British Columbia. That particular trip that I went on, and
that was on trails for horses though. Because that didn't look like you were even on a trail. It literally looked to me from the video like you saw a mountain and you started galloping up the mountain with the horse.
Well, yeah, I mean, so these are wilderness areas that are open to hikers and whatever, but there's outfitters out there that can run businesses that take people out in the mountains and have these wilderness experiences. And so I was just drawn to that.
Were you above the tree line?
Oh yeah, we were at the top, going over like the top of the mountains.
And the horse is okay with this?
These horses, when they're not doing these sort of adventure type of excursions,
psycho trip,
they're also used for hunting in the fall months.
So they're just used to
because they're taking hunters up there, and hunters are going up to hunt mountain goats and sheep and elk and whatever, bear, whatever. So they're used to like slogging it out, going up and sometimes tumbling down a little bit, and like it's a.
Have you ever fallen? Like on one of those, not on
no, because you're not usually like racing up the mountain. You're like plodding up, and it's steep and it's hard on the horses too, right? You have to take breaks. The best is the bushwhacking though, when you're like, let's take a shortcut, and you just literally go up the side of a mountain through the trees, and it's just like you're just hacking your way through.
And it's okay, the horses, because they're getting scratched pretty good, I guess, but these
horses are tough. Yeah, these are not the show animals that we have here that live in a stall. These are out,
and they're big animals, so I guess there's no threat of any other animals that you stumble upon.
No, bears are not
interested in horses.
The bears are lazy animals typically, so they're not interested in getting hurt.
Have you come across bears?
Yeah, I've seen bears.
Huh.
Yeah.
And then just they mind their own business, you mind your own business.
Yeah, typically.
No big deal.
Yeah, usually. Yeah.
And then have you come across any, what did you say, mountain rams? No, what did
there's like bighorn sheep, mountain gotes, I've seen it.
Yeah. My experience with the goats is that if they want to, they can get aggressive.
Yeah. Actually, there was a story I just heard about this rogue mountain goat. I don't know if it was in Montana or Colorado or someplace, but yeah, he had managed to corner a hiker and killed him, and then he stood on him for like 4 days and just all proud, like, and other hikers were coming by and going, oh my god, there's this goat, and he's like protecting his kill.
And they couldn't get to the human.
Eventually they got him, but like
holy shit.
Yeah.
4 days?
Or something like that. Yeah. It was a while, but the time hikers had got out, called and said, hey, there's a guy up there. And like,
the thing was standing on top of the human.
Yeah. He was like, I got this guy. Yeah. Which is,
why would got to be that's just
it's just a freak thing.
A freak thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably just a real aggressive Billy that was just like, nah, this is my turf. Get out of here.
Some of them can get big too, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And then do you see any other kind of like cats, like any kind of cougar type thing?
I've never seen a cougar. No, that's not true. I did see one last summer in Colorado. It ran across the highway when I was there with a friend of mine. And that's the only time I've seen one in real life. They're very elusive and their range is absolutely enormous. So
you don't go, what about wolves?
Herd wolves, never seen them.
Okay, that's like me when I had some relatives that would go hunting. They would always it's almost like they talked in whispers about wolves, like they were going hunting for wild boar, I guess you would call it in English. Like wild boar with the big, the big teeth and stuff like that. And these, a herd of wild boar is not to be messed with.
No.
Because they can run, there would be stone walls on different properties. They would run through the stone wall. They would start going over it, but then they would just demolish the stone wall. This stone walls would be maybe 3-4 feet thick stone walls. These aren't like one stone. Just demolished if a herd of these things goes over it. So not to be messed with. But then when they were hunting, every once in a while they would hear wolves. But the stories they would always tell me were there was such respect for the wolves, first of all, and that the wolves would only reveal themselves to the hunter if the wolf wanted to be seen. Like they were that smart,
right?
That like if you saw a wolf, it wanted you to see it. That's how they spoke of it. I don't know how true that is as a hunter, but that's kind of like the way they spoke of wolves.
Could be.
So I've always just been fascinated with that animal. And most hunters that I talk to, they never come across wolves.
No.
But they see their tracks and, they kind of look like they're big animals and stuff like that. I mean, there's some coyotes here in Oakville.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because just the size difference from a fox to a coyote can be pretty big.
It is.
So if it's a coyote to a wolf again, if it's like that kind of leap, it's like, holy shit.
They're big. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm taking us all this discussion. I don't know if there's some things that you talk about. But to circle back again to properties in Ontario, on rural properties right now in Ontario, we went through the whole pandemic, and I'm sure that kind of picked up some activity on some rural properties. There
was a ton of people that were. Basically, it was like an exodus to get to the.
That's what I feel because up in Collingwood, I just run into people in the farmers markets and stuff. They're like, "Oh yeah, we used to live in Toronto, and now we live like." In the middle of nowhere. They're not in Collingwood. They're like out just on their own property.
So those property values, interestingly enough, they did not really. They kind of went sideways. They weren't really affected much as far as the price.
So maybe the market was just more liquid. People could get out if they wanted to get out.
I think there is so much money in this country, and there's so much demand for that type of property, and that type of property, because there's so much demand, there's not a lot of it.
So then wouldn't you have thought prices go up?
Well, yeah, they had been going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like during, as the prices kind of softened, in
the last year.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Sorry. They haven't come down.
They haven't really come down. Yeah, they've kind of gone sideways, and now everything seems to be kind of ticking upwards as well.
I wonder if this is a sustainable thing, because we've just been talking about filling rental properties, and it seems like some of the Toronto rentals are now filling again faster than some of the ones that we have on, suburban areas. Niagara, Barrie stuff are taking a little bit longer. It's all kind of relative. It's not like saying super long, but a little bit longer than some Toronto. It's kind of like these waves of population seem to I wonder if this is just going to be a trend over the next 10 years where we see people from the city leaving sometimes, flowing back in, kind of back and forth. Somebody I know who works in the toilet paper industry here in Canada, they were telling me that their property managers that handle a lot of downtown Toronto, they're only between 35 and 40% usage of toilet paper. And I think this is the best gauge to see how many people are going back down to Toronto, because they're only stocking toilet paper at 35 to 40% of what they used to stock toilet paper. Right. I'm like, holy shit, this is like an interesting gauge on how many people, and I'm talking in the office buildings in Toronto. Sorry, I'm switching gears on us. But they said it has been going up. Like they're getting closer to 40%. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, so some people are finally going back into the city. Yeah. But I just wonder over the next 10 years if it ever gets back to where it was. They don't seem to think it's going to. And I just wonder if there's just this prolonged push for people to get the rural properties, even not as far as Calgary, but just in Ontario too. Well, yeah, I don't think it matters where you are. I know two of my friends moved to the East Coast, to Nova Scotia. From this area? Yeah. And bought acreages. And it just like... What do they do for a living? Well, one guy, he just quit his job and just... He had fun. He had resources, and he just said, nah, screw it. We're going to go for this adventure while the kids are young. And, his wife got a job pretty much immediately, and he decided that he's like, nah, I'm just going to figure it out. And now he's getting into the construction business, building homes and stuff like that. So I was hoping you were going to say he was a Zamboni driver. No. Sidney Crosby has an arena somewhere in Nova Scotia, and he's no. And then but I kind of I follow the Calgary market as well, and the rural home sales there are up as well. So there's more of a 50% of the net sort of migration into Alberta actually is coming from Ontario. Yeah. I don't think it's going to stop. No. The weird part is that Ontario's population is growing so much that Ontario, even if a lot of people are going to Alberta, still doesn't have enough supply of houses here to satisfy. No. What are you seeing on, now let's just talk about like regular rental properties where you're working with investors. How are you seeing it? Are properties getting listed and sitting around? What are they getting listed for? Are there multiple offers? What do you see? Yes, there's definitely in like the Hamilton and the Kitchener markets, for example, and of course in the Toronto market as well. Things are multiple offers going very quickly. We've got a listing in Kitchener right now, and it's literally like just nonstop. What type of property? It's a single family home. What price point? It's $775. Yeah. Holy shit, in Kitchener. Yeah. Okay. And it's just like, this one's a little bit more complicated, and I won't get into the details on that one, but things are selling in multiple bids, holding offers, and that's in Hamilton too. I don't think it's quite got to that level in the St. Catharines market yet, or maybe the Brantford market, but I've heard that the London market, it's happening as well. So I think it's only, and this kind of ties into the demand for rental housing. I think that if we're seeing that in the Kitchener, Hamilton markets, it's probably only going to be another month or two before that starts to overflow into the little bit further out markets. And then eventually that will turn into the rental market, and then that will rebound or whatever. It'll get more aggressive again, I feel. Yeah. Somebody here was working on trying to get a student rental listed at like $790. I think this was Hamilton. Yeah. Listed $790. They thought they would go in aggressive around $830 to try to win it. They lose, it goes for $850. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think people are still shocked that the real estate market's kind of turning around like that, but we just have no supply. That's like when you're running your reports on properties that you're looking for, I'm sure you're seeing just listings are way down. They are way down. So where are some of your, I guess I don't want you to reveal all your secrets, but like where are some of your favorite spots to take a new investor now? Is it outside of Hamilton, Woodstock? It's all, honestly, nothing has really changed in that. It's where
it's where they have a certain budget or a certain pre-qualification number that we have to work with. So it's where can we find something? Where can we actually find something because of the lack of inventory that meets the budget? And then for those where budget is maybe a little more flexible, it just depends on what it is that they want. And then some people do like, no, I want a certain area. And so we're stuck with trying to find something in there. So there isn't really one location that's really, better than another or that I'm focusing on.
Are investors you're working with focused on a specific type of property right now or to a specific strategy, or no, all over the map? What I mean are legal second suites, student rentals.
The single family home market is still not really many people are interested in that. It depends on the investor. The more seasoned investor might look at it and go, I'll get this because I can get it at a low price, quote unquote low price, compared to what it was a year and a half ago or whatever. But knowing that it's going to come back and they're buying on the discount and they're not buying for the cash flow, let's say, because on a single family home, the cash flow is not going to be there at all. In fact, it'll be negative, but I still feel from an investor sentiment, there's still a bit of trepidation in the mentality of the investors. So it's one of those things where it's like, everyone always, everyone's always looking for the deal, right? In good times and bad times, they want the deal.
If you have a deal, call me, JP.
I know.
If you get a deal, call me.
But then when you have the deal, it's like, well,
not the right
I'm
time.
not sure.
Rates are higher now than when I told you.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like, okay, I guess, and then I know what's going to happen. Everyone's kind of like, oh, they're unsure. Not everyone,
and then switch flips.
Exactly. And then everything's
I feel
going
like this
crazy.
fall, it's going to be so fascinating to talk about this fall because I'm pretty convinced rates come down. To me, there's some financial fire that trigger. I don't know if it's like the regional banks in the US that one just seems to fail now every week. I don't know if you heard there's another one on the ropes
what
now.
Was it? First Republic.
That's already old news.
Oh, there's
another one. There's another one now. I don't even know the name of it. That is like their stock was halted trading yesterday. Stock was down 35%.
Yeah.
The market's moved on. I forget the name of it. So like a bank just goes down. The banks that have failed now had assets under control that were larger than the bank failures in the great financial crisis.
Right.
So, because I think the Washington Mutual, was the biggest bank that went down. The other ones like Lehman and stuff were investment houses, investment banks, but just on pure banks, more banks have failed, or a larger asset base has failed now under bank control than in 2008. But that just seems like it's going to happen every week. And I'm wondering if we just get this like weird financial event where the central bankers in September come to us and they're like, you know what? We said rates we're going to be higher for longer. Like that's they're going to hire for longer, but in order to protect you and for your own financial safety, we're going to have to drop rates pretty aggressively now. And if that happens, can you imagine the switch on properties from people just that were kind of...
This is the thing it's hard to convey this, but there's something in people's minds that maybe it's the herd mentality and no one wants to be
definitely
go out on a limb,
And if properties are cash flowing negative, if it's just if you're not doing something like a student rental, or I know nobody wants to talk about these anymore, but old rent to owns, when properties were negative, the rent to own got us that option fee up front, which kind of circumvented negative cash flow because you got a bit of quite a sizable hit of cash. But people just don't want the negative cash flow. But then when things change, the market changes so quickly. It does capitalize,
and it's changing before our eyes right now. It is happening, and.
But rates are still high, so it's changing. But so some investors are jumping in.
Yes, they are.
These are the seasoned investors then.
It's all over the place. No, I wouldn't say.
Or
it's
new ones that have just decided I need a property.
It's a mix of both. It really is. But it's interesting. The ones actually who I find are holding back are the ones that really have the capital, like they're the deeper pockets, I guess. But I think I think there's something in their head that they think that something else bad is going to happen, which is going to make prices get worse or drop again, or
which could happen. Sure,
it could definitely happen. But from what we're seeing, I don't know. Maybe it does, but
well, no, it could. Let's face it, it could. But the policy response. Listen, that we both know people who have amortizations that are longer than their original amortization.
Yes.
Somebody was just showing me the other day a screenshot of a 68-year amortization. I think someone else was seeing something of 93 years. Like when your amortization, and the reason for that, if you're listening, is because interest rates went up, and the banks, instead of changing payments, they're like, just keep your same payment. We'll just like change the length of the amortization, and when your mortgage comes up for renewal, we'll just deal with all this then.
Sure.
And my thing is that they're not going to deal with it then, because if there's a whole percentage of Canadians that have all these long amortizations, OFSI or someone's going to come out and say, you know what, JP, you're an exception. We're going to let you have your 68-year amortization, or maybe it won't be that, but it'll be 40 years or 50 years. But I don't think they're going to true people back up to 25, because if there is a significant percentage of people who do have amortizations that have stretched out like that, the banks don't want huge defaults on mortgages. This is all wrong to say, by the way. Everything I'm saying here is wrong. There should be defaults. Banks should fail. It should true up. We don't live in real capitalism. This is not a capitalism that we live in. This is some weird quasi-social capitalism, socialism for the big banks kind of situation, where we're just going to always save the banks. And if you conclude that we're always going to save the banks, then you know that if property prices come down in any meaningful way, the banks are going to hurt in this country, because people won't make payments, they'll walk away from homes, because the situation where property prices come down is a bad economy. And the banks don't want all these properties back. So the government's going to try to solve this problem, whatever it is, by flushing in longer amortizations, lower interest rates, checks in the mail to help people make payments, no payments for 6 months on your mortgage, whatever it is. To me, they're just not going to let it fail. They probably should. They should let the market true up and come down in price. They're not going to, because the banks are at risk. And if you know that, then getting in now, and this just sounds like I know it sounds like I'm self-serving because we do real estate stuff. I just mean, I guess I shouldn't say getting in now. I just mean there's no bad time to put good assets in your life when the economy is the way it is.
And I have investors that are buying cash.
Come on.
They're like, nah, these interest rates are just, I'll wait till they'll come down, and then they'll refinance once the rates come down. Because they're like, I don't like these rates. But that's the thing. That's a different mentality than others, and obviously have the means to do it. But I mean, I just see what's going to happen come the fall when things, when there's something in the mainstream media that's like, oh, the rates are coming down, then everyone's going to be calling, let's go. And it's be like, well, now you're fighting against a gazillion people, and that deal is gone. The deal is gone.
And this is why, this is what drives me nuts, that unfortunately we all have to be macroeconomic experts.
I know.
It's like, you should focus on your horses. I think actually I still would look at interest rates no matter what. But we shouldn't all be forced to become macroeconomic experts in some, or not experts, but armchair analysts, let's call it that, to understand where the economy is going. But that's the state of where things are. We're all trying to guess, where's the stock market going to go? Where are real estate prices going to go? What's going to happen with interest rates? You got this guy Tiff that comes up with a smug smirk smile when he talks about rates. It's like, dude, you're smashing people's lives here. Why are you I don't know if you've seen him speak. Sometimes he kind of has a little bit of a smile on his face. I'm like, dude, what are you smirking about here? This is gross. The whole thing's just a horror show. We have one guy getting up in Canada saying, here's going to the cost of money, and this is going to affect the stock market, and it's going to affect your monthly payments, it's going to affect everything. And he seems to be really enjoying it a little bit too much. But anyway, we're getting off track. But I think that's going to happen as well in the fall. So neither of us have the crystal ball. But it's going to be interesting to see. I didn't think that we would be back to multiple offers in some pockets quite as quickly. So let me ask you something. Do you think this is going to carry through into the summer, or is the summer going to be, because the summer's usually quieter. I know some summers aren't, the pandemic one, that kind of stuff. Do you think it cools off a bit in the summer like usual? Because we usually cool down in the summer.
If we do, it'll be so slight. I honestly don't think so. I think.
Why?
Why? Because we haven't had a quote unquote normal, year in a number of years now. There's always been something, right, that's disrupting the normal pattern. Are way off. The patterns are way off. And I don't see, with the amount of demand on housing, that there would be magically, like, everyone goes on vacation July and August and like no one's buying houses. I just don't see that. I really don't. not with this much demand already. I saw the psychology start to shift in December, when as soon as they started changing the language, like you could just feel it.
Same.
Not that anything really changed right away, but you could feel the momentum building, and people were like, okay, January, they did that little increase. And then from there, you could see that pressure building. And I don't know what happened March 1st, but March 1st seemed to be like, it was like someone flipped a switch, and it hasn't stopped, and it's only been growing since then. So I just don't see how. Yeah.
The investors that you mentioned that were buying cash, what types of properties were those?
One was a new build in Georgetown. And
that's going to be an income property or a primary place of residence? Income
property.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
New build, Georgetown.
Yeah. Georgetown.
They're going to rent it out.
Yep.
Single family home, semi-town?
It's a 3-story town stacked.
Okay.
And we're just getting going on just, getting it up for rent right now for the
they've already taken possession.
Yeah, they took possession last week.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then another was a 4-plex in Waterloo. And that was just a great property because he was able to get it with 3 vacant units.
Oh,
and
wow.
so he's going to renovate the other 3.
Why were they vacant? They just needed repair?
No, it was, I think it was smart on the listing agent's part to coach the owner of the property, who kind of occupied one of the units, like half occupied it. Like there was really not much stuff in there. So I don't know if she was there full time, but they had left the other 2 units vacant, plus her unit, which was going to be vacant. And there was only one
market rent.
So they could make the property more saleable. And they had listed the property, it might have been in December or early January or something. I can't remember now. But I thought, okay, that was the right approach, because it was already a tough market in the fall. So to make it that much easier for someone, and when you're talking a 4-plex in Waterloo, those are not cheap,
No.
And so to make it more attractive, it was the correct play. And then she wasn't getting a buyer, and then she was almost going to fill 2 of the units to, so it wasn't selling, and we were able to stop it right at the like literally the day that they were going to sign some people in. We said, no, stop. We want it. 3 units vacant, and he's going to renovate the 3 units, and then he'll get market rent.
Oh, he'll get top dollar too.
Yeah.
He's going to renovate those things. And the weird part is Ontario, some of these buildings, the odd 4-plex, the odd 6-plex, 8-plex, I have a friend who has a 12-plex on a lot big enough that I feel like he could sever it and build a whole other building. Because some of those older buildings in Ontario, they're just sitting on these lots where the outdoor parking lot is like pretty big, and then there's just a lot of grass.
Yeah.
And those lots can be severed. Somebody else at the last team meeting we had here was saying they had somebody buy a 6-plex, and the reason they liked it is because they knew if they'd already spoken to the city that it could be severed, and they could build something else entirely on that. That's just like a bonus. If you stumble into a property like that, someone else was in Cambridge, and the builder of like a subdivision built their own home, and they built it with a legal accessory basement unit with like pure soundproofing, like perfect soundproofing in it, and then an accessory suite, like another unit in the backyard, like a Fonzie suite over the garage kind of thing. So it was like a triplex, but it was a single family home with a basement unit, so well done that you'd never hear noise, and then another rental in the back. The problem with those is the banks don't really finance them well because they're not recognizing these things as triplexes.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's if there's enough, if they can get the value out of the 2 units based on the purchase price, then they're okay. But if they don't
start wanting a premium for that 3rd unit,
it can be
tough.
trickier. Yeah. And I am seeing like in Barrie, there's a builder that seems to be doing it purpose built, like semis. So, 2, a semi on either side, and then the main unit, and then purpose built with a basement suite, and then a garden suite in the backyard. So
it's like a semi that would normally be 2 units. It's actually 6.
Well, it would. Exactly. Sorry. Yes, you got it.
Because it's like a semi, one family on each side.
You got it.
But they're building legal accessory basement units, so that makes it 4 families total, and then the garden suite.
That's right. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Stuff's changing fast.
It is. Yeah. So
Are they selling? Are those available for sale?
They were. I'd have to go back and see if
Those are great properties, man.
They are. And at first he had listed them all together. So the whole thing was being sold together. And then he ended up splitting them into 2 separate listings. And I don't know if they've sold or not, but most likely they.
One of the young Rockstar members here, who is an engineer, was just going around looking for lots that he could buy to sever.
Yeah.
He was finding a sweet spot in corner suites where he was just buying, a corner lot because it happened to be big, buying the house, legally severing it, selling off. Once he'd severed it and got it zoned properly, he would sell it off to a builder and he would recoup a huge amount of money that he spent to buy the whole thing. And then he would use that money to like renovate the property because it was an older property. And he'd have this gem of a property for next to nothing. So like if you're willing, and that's not for everyone, not everyone's going to go down the journey, but if you're willing to, some of the opportunities on infill projects, you know what it reminds me of? We have a good friend in Florida and he works with a builder. They used to build subdivisions and they said, okay, screw it. It's hard to get subdivisions now. He took his whole full construction crew. They have 4 models of the home, a single family. We should bring him on. Probably be a good one for Florida. A single family home, duplex, triplex, and a quad. And they have these 4 houses. And they just put his sales team goes and scouts properties all through Florida, like from Jacksonville to Fort Lauderdale to Naples, Fort Myers, Sarasota. And when they find lots, they put one of these 4 designs on it and he sends his crews all around, sometimes on 2 or 3 streets. They might be doing 6 properties. Because I don't know if you know how much you've been down in Florida, but there'll be some subdivisions and it's just like there's vacant lots. Like it's just like that, those like swamp trees and stuff on them. And they just buy them. Clear down the trees and it sounds so bad when I just say
just mow it down.
Clear down the trees, and they're building these things on them cookie cutter, and they go and sell them to investors all over the US and they're just killing it. And so he's not doing subdivision homes anymore. Instead, he just treats all of Florida as kind of like his market and does this thing. The more I'm talking about it, we really should bring him and just have him talk to all of us. A good guy too, but so there's just a lot. The infill opportunity. I don't know if you've the last time you've talked to Charles Waugh, Andy, and these guys. That's kind of what they've been doing too. They're just going around looking for infill projects all over the place.
I think that definitely I've talked to some people and obviously Paul and Andrew here have been doing some development stuff, but there's some people that want to jump right into that, without doing anything in between. And it's like,
now there's steps.
It's
if you jump right into it, it's just too much because so much can go wrong and you need to have the financial wherewithal to handle those kind of curveballs that you're getting. Because sometimes zoning, you get neighbors that can delay you forever. It can be a long journey.
But even doing the infill before going right to a subdivision, right? Like people want to go right there because they think that's where the money is.
Well, they want to like build a subdivision.
It's like, oh, hold on.
But so much.
Anyway, oh shoot, there was something I was going to say. Anyway,
so when you, I just want to ask you some stuff about life as we kind of bring this all together here. When you're working with investors now, I'm curious, do some investors, is it always the same reasons why they're looking at real estate, just to add some kind of hard asset in their lives? Like, do they tell you? Do you have any clarity around that? Or no, they're just coming to you and saying, hey, get me a property?
No, usually it's very similar reasons. They want to build wealth, or they want to build some sort of asset for the future and have some resources that I think they recognize that you're not just going to get from your day-to-day job or your income, your traditional income stream. So they're, they just want to have something, and they see what's going on and they look at the prices, and not everyone takes the plunge, they get excited about it, and then some people get cold feet, but the people that do, that's why, I don't think it's super complicated. They have dreams and visions of what they want their life to look like, and this is a vehicle to help them get there.
Think of some of the investors you've worked with since like 2000, if you go back like 2010 to the value of the properties that they have now. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah. And I think about that from time to time, just like what we've all done here. And
Can you imagine we just bought all the properties? None of us had the cash to buy the next property, never mind all of the properties.
Well, can I just plug that I have my license in Alberta?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I've been talking to you about this, but yeah, have my license in Alberta. So I guess that's basically it. Like,
and what type of if someone's listening and they wanted to do something in Alberta, who's the type of person to reach out to you for that? What are they looking for?
Well, if it's an investor, then certainly and it would be the Calgary market and the surrounding areas, but not Edmonton. But anything that we're doing here, we can do there. So any investor looking, you now are licensed in Alberta and you can help them out in the Calgary market specifically. Calgary market specifically. Edmonton is another market that people look at, but a bit far away. It's just for me, logistics. Market. It's just not, it's just, Not that anything's wrong with it, just you're not there. No, I'm not there. Yeah. But in the Calgary market and the surrounding areas, then it's open. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I see the demand there for rental housing just like it is here. And the price points, I think there's opportunity there for things like secondary suite conversions. You just go online and you try to find some multi-units in Calgary. It is brutally hard. So because they don't exist from what I picture of Calgary. Yeah. I feel like Edmonton would have way more multi-units. Especially the bigger multi-units. Yes. Yeah. But there's definitely a market for, they call semis there duplexes, but if you got the whole thing, then you'd have both sides and you could call that, got it. A duplex. But yeah, there's very little there. There's a lot of demand for it. It's funny with the population growth of Canada. I feel like we have so few markets. Like if you look at the U.S. and you're in the U.S., you can move to like a dozen different cities. Yeah. Here, the population is exploding. If you're choosing to leave Toronto, you're either, you just said you have friends going out east, so people are going everywhere. There's less choices overall. So I just feel like Calgary is going to be one of the areas that just continues to explode because it's going to get feeder from Toronto and from Vancouver. Correct. Yeah. The Vancouver area was the second biggest at about 26%, I think, of their net migration. And Ontario was 50. And then the rest was just from everywhere else. Got it. Yeah. And then what else can anyone else reach you out for? Are you doing any guided tours on the mountains with horses or no? No. What if you buy a property with JP in Calgary? You don't know. You don't want to throw that in. I was thinking that could be a pain in the ass. What's that? Taking people on tours or through the mountains on horses? Oh no, I won't do it, but I know lots of people that will do it, that will take you out. Yeah, so how does that work? You pay for these guys and it's like a week-long trip up on the mountains? Yeah. So it's basically you're hiring an outfitter or a guide. And you just pay and you're like, all right, these are the dates we're going to go and have your stuff and show up on this day. And And if an investor is listening to this and wants to do something in Calgary, how often are you out there? Is it once a month you're making a trip out there? Yeah, I've been out there about once a month. So once a month you're out in Calgary. Yeah, but that's the thing. I can do it in a way that makes if we're doing business, it's different. So far, I've been mostly just going out there. So if there's a purpose to go out, you're willing to go out anytime. You have a place out there. Oh, yeah. And then so in Ontario, the investor, typically, you're not usually doing stuff in Toronto proper, correct? You're more like Niagara, Barrie, Kitchener, Cambridge, Waterloo, London, by hitting all the right markets? Yep, you got it. So any of those markets for duplexes, legal accessory suites, garden suites, student rentals. Mm-hmm. I know we don't do a lot of rent-to-owns anymore, but rent-to-own stuff. So like in all those strategies in those areas. Yep, correct. Am I covering the bases correctly? Yep. And after having done it for this many years and making different contacts, we're pretty good at, the elements that always seem to be a struggle finding, which is contractors, people to do the design, then management. So at this point we've got, we don't have every last little hole filled, but pretty much we've got a lot of it. Mm-hmm. So you could be one-stop shopping for someone to guide them through that. Yeah. What else, JP? I think that's at the end of your life. Yeah. At the end of your life, what do you think you're going to tell yourself you wish you would have done now that you haven't done yet? If right now was the end of my life? No. Just like at the end of your. Sorry, maybe let me change the question. If we use the perspective of JP Gulbis as a 95-year-old, looking back on the JP Gulbis as a 44-year-old, what would he tell himself right now? I feel like I tell myself that every day. It's like, man, get going because it's going to be over soon. So,
So just live.
Yeah, but I think it's like, there's seasons to life, and then there's also like times for things that you must do, and there's times to focus on certain things, and that has that shifts through your life.
I agree.
Yeah, and so I have a pretty good sense of timing. I feel that I do. Someone told me that one time, so I've, whatever. But no, I have an internal clock and an internal sort of intuition, for lack of a better word, or a feeling where it's like, I know when it's
when
like,
to push and when to pull back on effort.
Not just effort, but on different things. And of course I'm not perfect at it. Like there's things that I should have done but I know, intrinsically what needs to be done. And it doesn't mean that I get it done, but it nags at me to get it done. And so eventually it gets done, it might take me a little bit more time, but that's circumstantial too, with everything that goes on. Cause there are things that happen that are out of your control, and then you got to deal with. Right. So, but I guess at the end of my life, I don't know. There's certainly things that I want to accomplish that I haven't yet. And those do revolve around, bit of lifestyle, and horses is still a thing that
music.
Yeah. Music to some level as well. Yeah. Yeah. Just creating some content that doesn't ever seems to get done, but but that kind of ties in with like, just, you get, in this business, it's like, I find it's hard to be super structured. That's something that I've come to realize, that it's extremely difficult. And especially, this is kind of a segue back to what we first started talking with, is, this person in my life who was very disciplined and very principled. The principled part I'm good with.
What do you mean principled when you say that? He lived by a certain set of rules, and you do as well.
I think I do. I think there's certain principles that I think, I don't know, that just resonate, or that I won't bend on personally. I think there's people out there that don't care about principles. It's like, whatever.
What's an example of one?
Being honest, something like that, treating people well, I think those are things that everyone.
Where does that come from? Being honest. Why is that important? Like, is that something just from growing up?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, my parents were honest people, and so I just think it was an intrinsic thing. And I think that also just, intuition and then also just for lack of a better word, like karma, like there's always like, hey, what goes around comes around, and you see it, as you get older, you can see, when
you say intuition, how does your intuition communicate with you? Is it just a feeling?
Yeah, it's a feeling. It's a internal dialogue. I think we all have it. I don't think that, at some level we all have it. Maybe it's stronger in other people, but yeah, I've always,
Are you doing a morning routine at all now that you like?
No, this is the discipline part that I find difficult, because of the nature of this job. I find that you're always being dragged in a million directions, and everything is so time sensitive.
Emergency, ASAP. I need this ASAP.
Everything is an emergency.
If I get another message that says ASAP, Jesus.
Yeah, but like it would be great to be able to, to have a lifestyle where you can be like, I look at you and Nick, and I think, man, they are very structured with their schedules. It's very hard for me to be able to do that
now, because we removed ourselves from doing the deals directly.
Correct.
So that's like a light switch.
It is. And that's the thing that I realized, that, hey, if you want the discipline, you've got to grow what you're doing. Yeah. Otherwise, it
did come from years and years and years of just discipline. Like you're saying, like just fucking heads down.
Yeah.
Do this.
I can do the heads down thing. It's the folding everything else into your life other than just eating, sleeping, and working. That's the part that the discipline of like the reading and the exercising and like the taking time with your family, those things that I have not mastered, because I just feel like I'm constantly just still, running, chasing. Yeah. I'm not complaining. I'm just
no.
saying,
I think we're nobody. It doesn't sound like you are. It's just kind of talking about life.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like we're all pretty grateful and we live good lives.
We definitely do.
In this country. I like to bitch and moan about Canada, but let's face it, relative to a lot of places, the weather though has been shit. I don't know. I can't let Canada off.
Man, it was amazing out in Alberta. I got to tell you, it was 20 degrees,
sun?
23 degrees, full sunshine.
I don't even know what the sun looks like, man. I just look. I heard it looks like a ball of fire.
It was unbelievable.
Was it?
Yeah. They came back here and we're like, oh, gross. It's like,
well, for anyone listening, I just want to in case you don't know, JP has been working with investors, I guess, since
tomorrow will be 14 years.
No, come on.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that had been here 14 years. Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. 14 years. We all thought property prices capped out. I remember having a conversation with JP at like 234,990 for whatever reason. It was right around that property price we're starting to go over. And I think we had a conversation where it was like, holy shit, I guess this is it. No one's ever going to buy an investment property ever again because they're now being listed for 240. The numbers just aren't. That's why when people come to us now and they say, hey, the numbers don't work. I'm like, well, I don't know. We've heard that since the year 2008. I actually had a buddy tell me in 1998 that the real estate market then had like, it had gone down and it just turned and prices were coming just up again. Yeah. And he's like, you know what? They've come up now for like 6 months. They're going to go down again. Yeah. And I feel like you just hear these things for so many years that we've just constantly heard, hey, the numbers don't work. Yeah. The numbers don't work, JP. Yeah. The numbers, prices are too high. Rates are just not right. Yeah. Property, it's over. Yeah. It's over. Yeah. That's it. And it just keeps going. Yeah. And, but 14 years, man. Holy shit. So yeah, JP has been working with just like thousands of investors, like on hundreds of millions of dollars worth of property. So he's sitting here being pretty humble. But if you're looking for someone who you want to talk about life or investment properties in Calgary, I mean, he's the man. So like,
or here, obviously in Ontario as well, but
here in Ontario as well. Yeah. And any of those areas, just feel pretty grateful that we have crossed paths.
Oh, likewise. It's been life changing. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then I guess the best way to reach out is just the Rockstar email.
Yeah, that's fine.
So jpg at rockstarbrokerage.com.
You got it. Yeah.
Anything else? Any other ways that you want to hand out?
I think that's the easiest way. Simple. Everyone knows email.
JPG. So 3 letters, jpg at rockstarbrokerage.com.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah. Later, dude.
See ya.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Term show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.